Welcome to the Elizabeth Street Garden. Look at the flowers, hear the birds chirping, smell the fresh air, and the controversy. That's because this tiny little park in downtown Manhattan is one of the most hotly contested lots in the city, subject to over a decade of disputes over whether it's going to stay a park or whether it's going to be this building. The issue has divided members of the community, mayoral candidates, and even self-identifying YIMBYs. After all, doesn't a good YIMBY support public green spaces and affordable housing? The Elizabeth Street Garden dispute is what happens when two come into contact. In one corner, a park with hundreds of thousands of visitors a year in a neighborhood severely lacking in green space. In the other, a hypothetical affordable senior housing facility with 123 units. Who will win? Who will lose? And what does Quinn from Glee think? This lot, part of which is now the Elizabeth Street Garden, was a school until the 1970s when it got demolished. It was all intended to become Section 8 affordable housing, but only the southern half has ever developed as such. The northern half was left vacant and got overgrown and full of trash. There was briefly a plan to make it a parking lot, boo. But instead, a man named Alan River got a month-to-month lease and for $4,000 a month, cleared the site, put in a path, planted trees, and filled it with weird little things he found at estate sales. He bought the building next door to be a gallery for his quirked up little things and allowed people to access his garden through the gallery. That's the status quo as we reach the early 2010s. Then, the trouble starts. In 2012, the Bloomberg administration transfers ownership of the lot from the Board of Education to the Housing Authority, the first move to finally develop affordable housing on the northern half. River and fans of his garden and gallery are peeved and start making the garden more of a public community space to save it. They establish a group called Friends of the Elizabeth Street Garden to volunteer to help take care of it, hold community events there, and increase its open hours. They also add a gate from the street. The city puts out a request for proposals to build affordable senior housing on the lot in 2016, eventually awarding the job to three groups who combine forces to propose this building, Haven Green. 7 floors, an elevator, 123 studio apartments, each about 1 square giraffe. 72 of the units would be priced at or below $850 a month, what the city considers an affordable rate for people earning just 30% of the area's median income, or AMI. The rest of the units would be priced for 60% of the AMI, or no higher than $1,701 a month. 37 of the units would be reserved for residents who were formerly homeless. On the ground floor, there would be 4 retail spaces, and the ground floor/basement would be office space for Habitat for Humanity NYC. There would also be some green space, albeit considerably smaller and with fewer wacky statues than the Elizabeth Street Garden. So, is the neighborhood better off with the garden or the housing? The question split the city's many 2025 mayoral candidates, with Michael Blake, Scott Stringer, and disgraced sex pest Andrew Cuomo on the side of the garden, and eventual Democratic nominee Zohran Mamdani on the side of housing, alongside bestie Brad Lander and the cooler Adams. The garden side also stacked up some famous names like Robert De Niro, Martin Scorsese, Patti Smith, Diana Agron, and Scott, the guy from that HQ trivia thing we all collectively hallucinated a few years ago. The case for the garden starts with the fact that it's nice. They host movie nights, yoga classes, dogs meet up there, people hang out there, so on. That has value in any neighborhood, but the surrounding neighborhoods have only 3 square feet of open space for each resident, among the lowest in the city. And as they note on their website, once a green space is lost, it's seldom replaced. These days, people aren't knocking down buildings in dense, in-demand areas to build parks. Garden heads also note that there are plenty of places in the neighborhood where you could build more than 123 units of affordable housing, either on empty lots or as replacements for whatever's there. They specifically name these 5 sites, 2 of which, since this fight began, have already begun to be developed as market rate or luxury condos. They also note that Haven Green, which is often described as being specifically LGBTQ senior housing, will not actually be ensuring that the residents who move in are in fact LGBTQ, just that the building will be, to quote their website, LGBTQ friendly, and there will be services specific to elderly LGBTQ residents. So in short, they believe that Haven Green's goals could be better achieved elsewhere, the garden provides an undervalued and intangible good, and the old people who move in might be straight anyway. The crux of the pro-Haven Green argument is New York City's, and this specific neighborhood's, affordable housing problem. Average rent for a studio apartment here is $4,000, an amount that only people earning more than 130% of the AMI, or over $150,000 a year, can afford. The waitlist for an affordable apartment currently has over 200,000 seniors on it. So given the scale of the problem, the argument goes, the city really shouldn't be choosing between Haven Green's 123 units and these other places to build affordable housing. It should be all of the above. After all, CB2 isn't exactly carrying its weight in terms of addressing the city's housing crisis. From 2014 to 2024, this part of the city built 1,439 new affordable units, this one did 1,336, This one did 1,330, CB2 did 93. Also, a proponent of the Haven Green plan would argue, the alternative sites are not as easy a solution as the garden heads would have you believe. Take 388 Hudson, for example. It's an empty lot right now, but it's zoned for manufacturing and managed by the Department of Environmental Protection. So developing there will require rezoning and transferring management of the lot, along with doing something about the water system access shaft located there. Getting all this done will take a while, to say nothing of how complicated it is to pay for new affordable housing developments. As an example, Haven Green's plan includes money from all these places. That doesn't sort out overnight. So while Haven Green is ready to break ground in a matter of months, other projects, like a 200-unit project cooking at 22 Suffolk Street, are 3 to 5 years away from getting built, at least, and there's no guarantee they'll even make it through all their layers of approval. So where are we now? Well, despite historically supporting Haven Green and even beginning eviction process for the garden in March of 2025, Mayor and semi-local weirdo Eric Adams' administration made a hard pivot, canceling the Haven Green development in favor of rezoning these 3 sites to create 620 affordable units nearby, if they can work out the deals. If not, the garden is back on the table. So the garden is safe for now. It will not surprise you to know that they're pursuing permanent protection on multiple fronts. 2 are a means of pulling the garden under the control of the Parks Department, 1 involves becoming a, quote, conservation land trust, and another one involves going through the courts, invoking a law called the Visual Artists' Rights Act, or VARA. VARA, among other things, grants artists protection against having their particularly iconic works destroyed. So if I bought, say, Warhol soup cans and chucked them into a river, I'd be afoul of VARA. The garden people argue that the garden is a work of visual art of recognized stature, and that destroying it to build housing violates Reviere's rights as an artist. This is not their first attempt at a lawsuit. So the Elizabeth Street Garden has snatched a victory from the jaws of affordable housing, but they're not out of the woods, or the park, or I've lost track of my metaphors. The point is, the fight is not over, but the garden is ahead. Question is, do Zoran and friends have another upset in them? Now, I don't know if the Elizabeth Street Garden will ever become apartments, but I do know that you should subscribe to this video's sponsor, Nebula. It's a streaming service started by a bunch of your favorite creators, myself included, hopefully. And if you like this video at all, you're gonna love what we've got going on over there. For starters, you've got tons of the smartest creators out there putting up their videos ad-free, sometimes early and sometimes with bonus content. I'm talking all my channels, all of these channels, including real life lore, not just bikes, philosophy tube, so on, so on, so on. But on top of that, Nebula is also home to Nebula Originals. Big, ambitious, creator-led projects you can't find anywhere else, like Amy's Den and Dreamhouse, Maggie Mae Fish's Kid Show for Adults, or Bobby Broccoli's insane doc 17 Pages, or Abolish Everything, the comedy show produced by my team here at HAI that pits New York's finest comedians against each other in a stupid debate competition just 15 minutes from the Elizabeth Street Garden. That's a taste, but Nebula has so much more to offer, and you can enjoy it all for just $3 a month if you go to my link, nebula.tv/HAI. So get on it.